No, I mean,
all right. And action! Welcome back to another exciting episode of Written and Directed By. I am joined with a good friend of mine, Jake Armbruster, director of the upcoming feature Frontera and star of the fabulous and just all-around ridiculous movie Rolling Thunder.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes,
thanks for coming.
It's complete ridiculousness.
Yeah, I hate to admit, but I have like 10 minutes left on it. But
Hey, that's fine.
It's been one of the funniest, craziest things I've ever watched.
Well,
it's like,
thank you.
And as one of the as one of the actors says, it's a clusterfuck. And it is, but in the best way possible.
Yes, it sure is. I mean, the two projects couldn't be any different, any more different than they are.
Yeah.
You know, Frontera is this long, just drawn out process, at least production wise, where, you know, it took us 3.5 years to do.
Oh, wow.
We were shooting the movie for over 2 years. So I'm working on this slog of a movie for so long, and just like having to do all this stuff, pretty much every aspect of it, from directing to editing to, so it's just gone on and on. And then I said, you know what? I need to do something drastically different for my sanity. And so we came up with this idea for Rolling Thunder, which was to shoot this movie in one day, of a millennial director who's making his first short film, and he runs into a slew of catastrophes while making it. And we decided to just be like, okay, we're going to shoot this thing in one day. We're going to follow this story map, and we're just going to improvise and go crazy with this thing. And we had a pretty good vision of what we were going to do, but I think at least Peter, the director, Peter Curtis Pardini, a very talented guy, I don't know if he fully believed that we were going to be able to pull it off, but it was a character that I kind of was just like, oh my God, I love this guy. I know this guy. He is me at 21. He's so cocky. He thinks he's going to make this film. I mean, and it just, I don't know. It turned out great. Then we shot it in one day.
Yeah. That's the part I couldn't wrap my head around. Like,
yes.
I mean, in the best way possible, it looks like it was, because like for the whole vibe of it.
Yep.
I think it works brilliantly.
Yep.
But I just couldn't believe that you guys did that in one day.
Yeah. So we decided we were going to do it in a mockumentary style, and it's about this director actually wants to make a documentary about himself making his movie. Because he wants to put it on his Criterion releases later on down the line. He's like, people are going to want to see this, you know? He's very confident that people will want to see this documentary. So we had, in the movie, he hires all these interns to shoot him. So I think we had about 8 or 9 cameras just continuously rolling.
That's awesome.
A lot of people were riffing at sometimes different sides of the house. Like 2 people would be riffing over here, we'd be riffing over here. And it was basically like, when I got to set, I was this character, and I was just trying to make this movie. Yeah. And everybody else had their objectives, which was to shit on me and make it difficult for me.
Yeah, I just, my favorite part about the whole thing was that no one knew what was going on, and it was just like, how, you know, it's like, because you've been on sets like this where literally you feel like you're the only one that knows how to do this, and they're like, who let them make something, you know? And I've been there, so it's like it was great to see this, because it made me laugh. There were so many just funny moments where I'm either like cringing, or I'm just like, oh, that's fucking, oh man.
Oh man. I'm glad to get this kind of reaction, because it hasn't been released yet. It's in the festival waiting room right now, if you will. So you're actually one of the first people to see it. I can't even really count on my fingers how many people have actually watched the movie yet. So it's good. It's good that you got to check it out, and it's something that I think hasn't really been done, and I hold my tongue on that. But I honestly, no one has shot a feature film in one day.
That I've never heard of.
I don't think that's happened before. And yeah, so that was kind of the idea going into it, was just to do something completely different than Frontera, just to re-energize my creativity and my brain. So I noticed that it didn't, like, I don't know if I missed it, but on the credits there was no like written by. I just saw a story by you and Curtis. So we're like, did you guys come up with it together, or like? Yeah. So basically, the origin story of Rolling Thunder. I worked with Peter on his previous feature called Black Cat, and he had this same type of style. You're fine. It's PCP, Peter Curtis Pardini. So basically, we worked on this film together called Black Cat, and he had this kind of hybrid improv and scripted thing going on. And so for the first couple of minutes of the movie, he had this disaster show of a set, which was basically he just turned us all into actors. I was the assistant director on this one, and he had the lead actor was supposed to screw up this line over and over and over again and just kind of ruin the day on set. So we had this whole improvised thing that was only 2 minutes of the actual feature, and Peter took that and he edited it into a 40-minute piece.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you this, it was hilarious. And I told him when he showed it to me, I was like, bro, this is the best thing you've ever done. And he was just like, what? Really? I was like, dude, this is fucking hilarious. So after he had done that, that was always in my head. It was like, oh my God. Like, and I started just churning in my head about it. Like, if we could just get like a little bit of money, like we could do this. Yeah. But so as the story goes, I was obviously still working on Frontera or whatever. But me and Peter sit down for coffee. He's raised some money to produce this short film that awesome. He wanted to produce. Yeah. And then get funding for a feature, right? Okay. Everybody's dream, right? I'm gonna do the short to make a feature. Yeah. But it was like when he was telling me about it, I felt like, you know what, it wasn't gonna be something that people would just come out and fund. Right. It was about an Indian. It was abstract. It was very. It was great. I mean, I loved it. It was very Lynchian almost. And in a sense, it was like, I don't know if you could make this short and get money for a feature. Right. But that was just in my head. But what I said is, why don't you use that and we make a feature version of this? And so I sprinkled that seed in there. And immediately he goes back to his house and he calls me within 20 minutes and says, we're doing that. Because it was something I think we both knew immediately was like, okay, yeah, that's what we should be doing. Because I mean, we were immediately inspired just to create this story. Yeah. And so it kind of went from there. We started spitballing ideas back and forth, and we wrote a story map. Okay. So we wrote kind of like how the events would happen. What happens here, and things were constantly in flux. You know, we had actors, we had things that were gonna come that we ended up not wanting to be there. Like, it was constantly in flux. So this story map was just kind of all over the place. We were like, okay, so we had this character, but no, we don't really want that person there. It was constantly moving around. But I always knew that I knew my character. Mm-hmm. I knew who he was. So yeah, he raised this money for the short, and then. So we had the money in place, so we knew, okay, we have something here. Mm-hmm. We actually have something going. So we just started to produce it. We started to write it. I actually wrote a script for the short film inside of the film. Okay. That was where it started, and it was it kind of went from there. We kind of just built around that, just kind of how we would do it. And I knew there was many things about my character I knew were his biggest faults, and one of them we spoke about it earlier was that just kind of not knowing that he does not have the pieces in place.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the pieces in place. He doesn't have the right pieces in place.
Right.
And he doesn't learn that until it all comes crumbling down. He thinks, "Oh my God, I'm gonna strong arm my way into making this movie," and that just doesn't work.
I mean, and what I think is great is because that's a lot of people think that, and so it's easy enough to relate to. So the whole time you're just seeing like, wait, don't, it's he just like, oh, it'll work out, it'll work out, it'll work out, it'll work out.
Right,
that's the part I love.
Like he constantly is bringing up other directors.
Yeah,
that's one thing I wanted to say is like he's constantly like, well, Scorsese did, or well, Inarritu did, and it's like
we're Inarrituing this thing.
We're Inarrituing. Yeah, I mean he's got this idea that he can do these things that were these huge budget things. Like he tries to do this huge one-er shot and this and that. Yeah. He has no extras, so he's like trying to get his crew to be extras and run around and get them to be multiple extras by running to the other. It's just completely nuts. He doesn't have the pieces in place to actually do those things. I mean, you don't have Scorsese or Inarritu money. Like just calm yourself down.
Or even the knowledge to figure out how to do it with no money.
Exactly. So yeah, that was I'm proud of that one. So that one's coming out next year.
That's awesome.
And you guys can follow us on the gram and all that shit. Figure out when we're going to be screening and all that. So
yeah, we'll have links below.
Yeah.
So it's. I didn't, because you've posted a little bit here and there on Instagram from just, I think when you were filming it, I saw like a story you put up, but I wasn't sure what to think about it because I remember you told me it was like a feature that you were shooting in one day, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, I wonder what it's about. Like, how are they doing this? What could this story possibly be that they're going to be able to shoot this in one day? And so as it starts, I'm like, okay, I think I understand. And then it's like, boom, you're like, holy shit, this is ridiculous and it's hilarious. And I love all the micro confusion between every person. No one knows who's in charge. Like, no one knows. I think that's the funniest part for me is just like everyone's just constantly
another big thing about this movie is just like that battle between the old and the young.
Yeah.
There's this thing where he's working with these older actors and these older, and it's just like, you just see the naivety in him.
Yeah.
Just, he doesn't understand that these people are seasoned professionals.
Yeah.
And you can't come up to them thinking you are this hotshot guy.
Right.
You have to come, and we talked about this earlier about managing personalities. You have to make sure that you, especially with older actors and things like that. I mean, the second that you start, doing something, it's like you're gonna lose them quicker than anything. Yeah. They're gonna see right through you.
I've even had actors that not even seasoned, like people that just do theater that have never been in a film before. This was on my Western too. The guy, he came and auditioned. He knew what he signed up for when we casted him, and we shot in Tucson, so it was like almost 2 hours from where we originally auditioned everybody. He shows up to set, and because it was a night scene, we had everyone show up with plenty of time to rehearse, and before the sun went down and no one could see like what was happening. And of course we had gun malfunctions. And so not all of my actors were there yet, so we had to wait for everyone to show up. So that scene had to be put off, so we decided to start on another scene. And like maybe 30-40 minutes out from shooting the scene that this guy was supposed to be in, he comes up to me and my producer, has his cowboy hat stuffed with his wardrobe, shoves it to us and says, "I'm leaving."
Wow.
And leaves.
This is like Rolling Thunder is really hitting home for you.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I think I had it a little more planned out than Benny did.
Oh yeah. Benny thought he was just going to be able to come on and bark orders and get things done, and that's just not how it works.
Yeah. But yeah, I can relate to Benny a little bit.
Yeah. He's got, he starts off, as an obnoxious character, but as the movie goes on, you start to realize like this guy's got a lot of passion.
Yeah.
This guy's got a lot of passion, and he's obviously He's obviously able to get things together. He's able to get people to believe in him. It's just about him actually not thinking, it's almost like he needs to realize that he's not what everybody thinks he is. He puts on this thing of like knowing everything. He knows what he's doing, but it's almost like if he just went, okay, I'm not the shit. And I think at the end of the movie, I don't want to say what happens. It's like it's ego. It's ego. It's just like that is a huge thing in this industry. It's just people with egos that cannot be tamed. Yeah. They're wild tigers, and they just get out of control.
And I mean, I think that's safe to say about any industry. Is like, when you think you're
human nature, I guess.
Yeah,
it's
when you think you're the shit, and then nothing can stop you. When that's locked in your head. Yep. Man,
nobody can tell you otherwise. Yeah, it's hard for you to.
This is I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is a business where you have to check your ego at the door. Like you can't bring it in with you. You'll start burning bridges. Yep. People won't invite you back to, and no one will want to work with you. Yep. I mean, and then also on the other side, like you have to have not an ego per se, but you have to, like you were telling me, you have to, manage your personality, manage your however you work, figure it out to mesh, control everything.
There's a difference between confidence and overflated ego. Yeah, there's a huge difference, and people will see that immediately.
Yeah, I think so. I sometimes I struggle with not wanting to hurt people's feelings by, and so that's where like it would come from. It's like, okay, I need to take control, but I also don't want him to be mad at me or her to be mad at me by saying this. And I've slowly learned, like, they're here because I've asked them to be, so it doesn't really, if they have a problem with it, then they'll hopefully tell me. But, I've learned that I can't think like that. Otherwise I won't get it done. And no one's gonna, like you said, trust you. So,
I mean, directing actors and all that stuff, that takes so much practice. Yeah, and it's definitely gonna be the last thing you learn if you're a director and you're not coming from acting world. Yeah. If you're coming just from, I love movies, I love, I watch so and so. I mean, you're gonna know how to frame. You're gonna know how to move the camera. You're gonna be very focused on these visual elements. But working with actors is on the completely other end of the spectrum, and that takes practice.
Yeah, I'm not an actor. I've taken acting class, so that also teaches me nothing.
Yeah,
one class
doesn't.
Do
not go to acting class, guys. Actors out there, don't do it.
I had to go it was mandatory for my film school that they wanted us to know what it was like. Yeah, but it was theater acting, so it didn't really. Yeah, but
there's plenty of books out there and things online by actual reputable people. Yeah. Do not go to Joe Blow acting guy, please.
Yeah, just my advice from a non-actor would be just to do it, act, get experience. Yep. Because one thing I heard was that, one thing that I was listening to was that. From this actor, I forget who it is, but he was saying like that he loves working with so many different directors because to him, each director is a new acting coach. Yep. Because it's every director has their own vision for how they should perform, so they're looking at not as being told or what to do, but like how they should go about it and coming at it from a different lens, so to speak, from each person to person.
Oh yeah. And we could have another podcast where we just talk about each specific thing because we could talk for an hour about actors and directing actors and things like that. Yeah. We could actually talk for hours about any process of filmmaking. Yeah. So I think it's almost like we need a director right now to keep us in the right page. I know. Like we're just but yeah, I think all of these things you just can't learn in one podcast. You gotta fucking like I could talk to you for hours about directing actors because it's so complex and there's so many different elements and things you have to think about. But at the end of the day, an actor is going to trust you because you know the material more than anybody. And the second that you don't, they realize you don't know the material that well, is the second they're gonna start turning you off. Right.
So in that vein, how was it working on Frontera with Omar being your co-writer?
It was very hard. It was very hard because he's also the executive producer. Right. He's got his hands in it. We have this relationship where it's not just an actor-director relationship. It's literally a collaborating relationship where, we're like, it's almost like a sibling. It's like you have this, you butt heads, you love each other, you butt heads, you love each other. I mean, when you're doing so many things with one person in a film like me and Omar did, it's definitely a different relationship than what I had with the other other actors.
Right.
Yeah.
So was it a difficult process? Like, because I mean, you've worked on it for so long. I mean,
so Omar, being the writer, being the executive producer, he knew what he was going to do.
Okay.
He had a character that he went for. And he attacked it, and he went after it, and he had a focus on what he wanted to do, and I honestly, it wasn't always the easiest of processes working with somebody who is also your co-writer and executive producer, and there's the relationship between me and him. It's very, very different. I can imagine. Yeah.
So how did you get involved in, like, did he say, like, I have this thing that I've been trying to do, and, like, can you help me with it? Or was it like something that you're like, I have this idea. Oh, cool. Like, I have this idea. Let's combine them. Or
so
I'm very curious about how this came about.
Me and Omar worked on my first short film together. Okay. I randomly bumped into him at this bar that I bump into a lot of actors at. It's right across the street from the Lee Strasberg Institute. It's called the Surly Goat. And I met 5 actors who were in this movie at the Surly Goat.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I met him there. We did my first short film. I casted him, kind of out of type as a tough guy, kind of like, crime bossy kind of guy. He's kind of a babyface guy, but when we started talking, it works. His film knowledge really was first what got me. It was like we had a conversation about films and our tastes were very similar. And so I started realizing, okay, I want to work with this guy. So we worked on Animus. I thought it was a success. His big scene ended up getting cut out anyways, 6-minute scene. It was too talky for a short film. So that got cut out. But he was great. He came prepared. He did his thing. So I was like, this guy's great. We kept in contact, and eventually we got together and started talking about he wanted to do another short film.
Okay.
And he had this. He had a few scripts, a few different iterations of, at the time, what it was called was Brothers in Arms.
Okay.
And he had this idea because it's almost based on a true story. There was a family that had a gun shop, and they were running arms to the cartel. This was an actual thing that happened. So Omar had the idea. He came up with it. He had quite a few scripts. It was his first time writing scripts as well. So it was all over the place. It needed some direction. So I said, okay, let me help you with this. Let's get it made. Let's do it. I love the story. I love both of our favorite films are Goodfellas and the Godfather films. So it was right up my alley when it was like, okay, this is like The Godfather, but on the border.
Right.
And so I always just wanted to make a film like this. I always wanted to make a gangster film. They're my favorite type of film.
Yeah.
They're my favorite type of film. They're fun. And so we just dove right in, and I started rewriting the script. Omar had some, he's really great with dialogue, and me and him with our dialogue, we kind of were really working well there. Me and Omar's relationship in the writing process was actually really good. Our ideas were great. I was able to craft the story in a way that got it in the right direction, while Omar added that bit of flair with his dialogue and his kind of ability to come up with just some good lines. One of the scenes in particular is exactly the same from his original short film. Yeah, that's the scene where he meets Frank in the gun shop. Okay. That's exactly the same as it was in the original script.
It's a great one.
It's a great scene. I just, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of subtext. There's, and those are things that I really try to do in scenes is kind of you got to add those elements. Otherwise it's not interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most every Tarantino scene, there's the words they say aren't exactly what they mean. It's what's beneath it. And I mean, I think that's what I'm trying to do with my writing is how to make a scene interesting, but also have the subtext to it. And you might think it's easy, but it's not.
And also it takes actors to bring the subtext out, because it's not necessarily going to be in the text. It's not going to be right there in the script pages. It has to be fleshed out. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we had a great process in writing it. So we ended up having this short film script, and I think we finished in like 2015. Okay. The short film script, and I said, we're good, let's go. So we started casting, which was probably the luckiest part of this whole process, because we randomly on Central Casting got Justin Berti, the lead who plays the older brother, who's running for mayor.
He was great.
He was great, and when he came in, it was just like, that's the guy. You just don't have stuff like that happen on Central Casting and LA Casting. Really, like that. Like, you don't just find the guy like that.
I haven't casted out here yet. Everything I've done here has been with my roommate or my friend that are actors. So it's like I haven't actually done enough to say, okay, let's post something. So I don't know how it goes.
It's not easy, and you really don't know what you're gonna get. It's like needle in a haystack. You have no idea what's gonna come in there. Especially for things like this, because these are guys submitting themselves. These are guys starting out, so you don't know what you're going to get. But we were so lucky that, the film gods blessed us with finding Justin, and then finding Frank, John Henry Richardson, who plays Frank in the film. He came into the audition room and it was like, oh my God, that's Frank. Yeah. It was crazy how we found these guys. And all down the line. The actor who plays Joseph, for instance,
he was awesome too. I loved his character and what he did.
Yeah, the casting there was, I wanted the contrast between, obviously, the undertones of there's undertones of the movie between like the border and the Mexicans are like, it's this white guy who has this whole gang of Mexicans. And I thought it was interesting to kind of do that. And there's those scenes in the beginning where it's like, how do they fucking come here without speaking English? It's like he's almost speaking for, the racists in this world who think that. But anyways, I'm getting off topic here. But yeah, just casting him in that role, he's a pretty boy. He's like, if you look at what he's done in the past, he's like a model. He's like,
well, he looks like a candidate.
Right. Right. I mean, he's completely out of type. Yeah. And this actually came, he went to school with Omar, and Omar said, let's try this guy. And I looked at his pages. He's got like Abercrombie and Finch picture. I'm like, how is this guy gonna play a gangster? Oh, yeah. How is he gonna?
Sorry, I thought we were talking about Justin.
Oh yeah, no. This guy, this guy, and I'm just like, he comes in and he starts doing this thing, and I'm like, wow, this guy's the guy. And so the casting process really. This does not happen, guys. You don't just have things fall into your lap. Yeah. This was like a film gods kind of situation, kind of blessing us at this point.
Did you go through a bunch of different people before choosing your cast, or was it all just by chance that these are the people that walked in through the door?
we auditioned a lot of people,
Okay.
but actually, which is kind of crazy, Justin was the very first person to come in for Bradley DuPont Jr. Frank, John Henry Richardson, was the first person to come in to audition for Frank.
Yeah. Let me guess, you still audition more people, and you're like, I think those first guys are better.
We did for some reason.
Yeah.
Like I honestly wanted to cancel the people who were already coming after we saw John Henry. And it's like it was really dumb luck, guys. Like that does not happen. The hardest was finding like the mom character, and there was a lot of characters who we could not find.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had those situations, and it doesn't happen every time. Like, rarely where it's like, I did one film where the guy hadn't even said a word to me. I mean, this was years and years ago, early college. The guy hadn't even said a word. He walks right in. I'm like, he's it. And after he left, I mean, his audition was awesome. My producer was like, yeah, he was good. I'm like, no, he's it. He's the one. She's like, no, we'll keep auditioning. We did. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you. She's like, okay, fine. But I just, sometimes you just know.
Yeah, you just know. And when you're working on bigger films, you're going to have casting directors do this. And so at the end of the day, you won't have to be sitting there, because there are times when a director will try to cast his own film, and he will go, oh, that's the guy, and it'll be the wrong guy. Yeah. And that happened to me in this film, guys. The girlfriend character, I went, that's our girl. That's our girl. And her name, I'm not going to say her name, but she ended up being a complete diva.
Really?
And she walked off set, and she did a scene, and then she did another scene, and then her manager called me and said, she's not working on this movie anymore. And we had to recast her.
Oh, yikes.
So, I mean, it was pretty nutty. So a lot of those scenes we had to reshoot. And in one scene in particular, she was actually sitting at the dinner table in this one scene, and we actually had to we didn't want to reshoot the dinner scene because it was a huge scene between all the characters. So what we ended up doing was with VFX, take her out of the scene.
Oh no.
And then we wrote a way to get the new person who played the girlfriend, Zoe Sidney, who's a great actress. We had to figure out a way to write her out of the dinner scene. So we came up with this thing where she had to go to the grocery store to pick up the dessert or something, we had to figure out a way to get her out of the dinner scene. And so so we didn't get all luck, and that was completely my fault. I looked at her, she came in and she gave me an audition. I liked it. I thought she was great. And she wasn't. And that'll happen as well. Like you sometimes your instincts are not right. You need to go through the process and really figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with my film. I mean, the guy I cast was a friend of mine for years, or a couple years, and I've seen him act before. He's mainly a theater actor, and months and months before he signed on, I was like, take your time. You don't commit now. It's a big commitment. And he's like, no, I'm doing it. And he walked off. It's like you just never know.
And especially working with friends as well.
Yeah.
It's always tough when you don't have, especially as a director, and your actor is one of your friends.
Yeah. I've
had this exact same issue with my short film. There's a different relationship there, and that's the same thing with me and Omar's relationship. It's like it's always hard to work with those type actors who you're not on a professional level with them. They don't look at you like a professional. They look at you like your friend.
Right. And sometimes I think it's really hard to work with my roommate or my other friend because they're both actors, but it's also like they also have input on things. And it's like, all right, when is it okay to tell them to shut the fuck up and it still be okay? Then we can all finish this up and then go laugh and have drinks after. But sometimes it's not, sometimes it just, whether you step the line or you're just doing what you need to do to finish to make a good product, it can end a relationship. And I mean, it's happened. It's happened I'm sure to everybody who's in this business, where they're like, "Hey, you're a great actor. You're my friend. Let's do this." And sometimes it's not a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, don't hire your friends.
Yeah.
Find professionals. Find people who are coming out, want the roles.
Yeah.
People who are like, oh my gosh, coming out to audition. When people come and audition, there's something different there. If you just go, hey, I wrote this for you, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. I mean, like, imagine doing the John Krasinski thing and directing your wife.
Well, when she's Emily Blunt,
yeah, well,
you don't have to do too much.
No,
Emily Blunt is phenomenal.
She's great.
Phenomenal.
But I'm just saying, you know.
No, I'm sure his direction was Emily.
Yeah.
You know what you're doing.
He's like, I'm not gonna say anything. I love you,
Emily. Do your thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah. He was just like, I wish I could say something.
Like, yep, exactly. So we had this short film script and we started shooting it. Mm-hmm. Omar wanted to shoot the film. We had $5,000. Okay. He wanted to shoot the short film to he's trying to get his visa, so he wants to prove that he's a producer and making short films. And he wanted some more for his reel, yada, yada, yada. So we said, okay, let's do it. And we went out. We blew through that $5,000 so quickly.
I believe it.
It just disappeared. So we shot 4 days, which was the short film. And I looked and I said, I do not want to have a 30-minute short film. Mm-hmm. I said, there's just no reason to have a 30-minute short film. Yeah. My first film, its original cuts were around 27 minutes. It was not a short film. I mean, sometimes you can get carried away and try to build these worlds and shit, and then all of a sudden you got a 30-minute short film and no one will watch it, guys. Yeah. No one will watch it. You need to make a 5-minute, if it's even 8 to 10 minutes, that's too long. You gotta keep it under 8 minutes for a short film, or nobody's gonna watch it. It's the sad truth. Mm-hmm. It really is. It's sad but true.
And you might not think so or agree, but it's the truth.
It's the truth, and it's sad. But people don't have the attention spans. They just
especially now.
Yep. If it's not a feature, that no one cares. Yeah. But yeah, so that was kind of the inspiration for us to just be like, look, we just shot this thing. No one's going to give a fuck unless we make a feature. And I said, if we just keep chipping away at this and we just keep writing the scenes, in my head, I knew we had the full story there. There was more to the story. We left a lot out in this short film. So I said, okay, so let's just build here. Let's build here. Mm-hmm. And we created more characters, kind of developed it, kind of gave it some meat and bones, and potatoes, added an antagonist for Justin in the reporter character. And we just kind of created a feature. And it was insane, but somehow we pulled it off.
So it all stemmed from this short, and was that short still a part of the feature?
Yep, everything from the short made it into the final film.
Awesome.
The short film was really all the major scenes in the film.
Broken up throughout.
It was just broken up throughout. So this process of writing and shooting is definitely one that you should not do, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. There's a lot of scenes that we wrote that we did not need. A lot of time I put on my back just trying to we need to develop this relationship, or we need to This stuff is so much easier to edit in the script phase than it is to shoot. I'm gonna shoot and then throw it in and then figure out 6 months later that it doesn't work. It's like, no, you gotta write a full script and you gotta edit the script because if you're shooting things that you're just gonna cut out later, that's time, labor, and money, and you gotta cut that shit out of your script early.
I'm really thankful I learned that lesson in high school when I wrote and drew my first comic book. I would write 2 pages, draw them, draw, and by the end I'm like, what the fuck did I just make?
Exactly.
The story changed out of control so much, and it's it's not even the same thing. So everything after that, I'm like, if I ever do this again or whatever I do, I'm writing everything out first.
So we did that process, and it was a long one because I was editing the film as well. So
were you editing as you were shooting?
We edited as we shot. Okay. So I would say, you know, we'd shoot a scene, I'd edit it. I'd shoot a scene, I'd edit it, and that was kind of the process. And then we had something, and it took a long time to get the edit right. It took a lot of just like putting it away, coming back, putting it away, coming back. It was something that constantly haunted me and was on my back, and I just was like, oh, I can't. And finally, we have what you see today, which is Frontera, and it is done, and it is out, and I couldn't feel happier about that.
It's really exciting, and I have to congratulate you on your awards that you got for it from your couple of your festivals.
Yes.
You won Best Feature at Sholo Film Festival.
Yep.
That's awesome. And then Best Narrative Feature at Lawlin International Film Festival, as well as Best Crime Film. And did Omar win Best Supporting Actor, or was that someone else?
Joseph. That was Oliver Seitz, who played the bad guy.
That's awesome.
He won Best Supporting Actor, well deserved. His performance is phenomenal.
That's awesome.
In the film.
And so congratulations on
thank you. Yeah,
success and hope and God willing more success.
Yeah, I mean it felt good, you know, actually screening it, and it was surprising, but I guess people liked it, and yeah, I mean you do this thing for so long, and it's like you don't really feel like you're any good at anything until somebody actually gives you recognition. So it was
other than your mom,
right? Other than my mom. But like when we won the Best Feature at Laughlin, it just was like, holy shit, man! Like that felt good. Yeah, it felt good, and like this part of the process comes after so much pain. Like there's a saying that I always say. It's like, you know, pain is temporary. Yeah, but film is forever. You're going to go through a lot of pain. You're going to fall on your face. But at the end of the day, you have something that you can show somebody forever. Yeah. It's like a piece of you. It's like, this is a baby of yours. It might be a deformed baby, but it is a baby.
It's still there.
It's still there. You have something that you've created, and there's something special about that. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. And I think that if you don't if you don't have facefuls of dirt, you know, coming up, then you're not going to be anything. I mean,
yeah, it makes it sure as hell makes you humble. Yeah, like don't tell me one fucking guy who didn't come up fucking scratching and clawing. Like if you're just a trust fund baby getting handed, no offense to trust fund babies, but it's going to be a lot harder for you to stay humble. Yeah, like if you're just handed something, it's going to be hard to, you know.
That's why I try to take as many positions on, you know, student films or friends films. I even worked for a little under a month on a independent feature as a PA for free. Just one to get some connections, and two, just because I like thrive to be on a movie set, or whether it's my own. If I go a certain amount of time without being on a set, like I get antsy. I get like uncomfortable, and like it just doesn't feel right. Like I don't know about you, but I like crave to make movies, and it's something about it that's good. That I just love the process. Any part of it, any part that I can get my hands on, and if I can be a part of making a good movie, if it's someone else's, then like I'm all for it. I mean, you have to start somewhere, so why not just grab any position you can?
You have to start somewhere, and you never know who you're going to meet, or who you're going to meet on those sets. Could be a future collaborator of yours. They could be somebody who turns out to be your go-to DP or your go-to AD, or this is how, like, it's cliche, but like you gotta make those connections with the people in your same position where you are now. In 10 years, those people who you are hanging out with and talking to, those are going to be the people who are either up here, or you shouldn't be talking to them anymore. Right. Like at the end of the day, it's like you have to surround yourself with people who have the same passions as you, and they're going after the same things as you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you're in a group of people and you're all doing the same thing, make sure. My mom always says, make sure that you're you're the least experienced person. Otherwise, you're not learning anything.
That is totally true. If you are in your group of friends right now and you're saying, I am the best filmmaker in this group, I am the smartest person in this group, you're in the wrong group.
Yeah.
You need to surround yourself with people who are more talented than you, who know more movies than you, who are, are just, just way smarter than you.
Yeah.
Like, and find those people. And if you, you're only going to make yourself better.
Yeah. And that's all it's about.
And that's what, I mean, I don't mean to shit on those people, other people can still be your friends. But what I'm saying is, like, you should really try to find those guys who, who just made a short film and is like getting an agent, or the guy who's like over here grinding, making this. And like, if these people are your friends, it just helps inspire you to keep going. If your friend can do it, if this guy in your group can do it, you can do it. He's up here. You're it doesn't hurt to be following in someone's footsteps. If somebody else around you is going up and that's your friend, I look at it as you're coming up too. It's like you because you're right behind them, and like and it's going to inspire you to keep going.
Right, and that's why you have to check your ego. I mean, if you're upset that your friend's doing better than you, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
There's a lot of guys who just kind of just look at Damien Chazelle, he's only 28, or look at so and so, he's only this. Like, oh my god, if he's doing that at this, I'm so old. Blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about anyone else's journey. Don't worry about what so and so is doing. Just because you haven't made a feature, or, you're 31, you haven't made a feature yet. It's not the end of the world. You have your entire life to make movies.
There are some real famous directors that their first feature they made at 45 or 50. It'll happen when it's supposed to happen. And I mean, remember when I started seeing you get. You got some of your first awards for Frontera, and I literally got so excited for you because it just shows like hard work pays off, and it just made me feel like it's awesome for that Jake did it, because now I feel like it's like pumping me up for when I can get my award, so to see you do, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, like where can I get my next project, and how can I be on the same, podium with you, so it's like, it just pumped me up. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're pumping me up.
Good.
Because I wish I had this kind of spry energy that you have right now, because I'm exhausted after these 2 feature films. I must tell you, I'm fucking exhausted.
Well, I'll do a feature and let you know how tired I
am. Yeah, they are draining. I really do. I want to jump back in there and do some more stuff. I just I know I have to get back to that energy that you got.
I'll bottle it up.
Because believe it or not, guys, I don't want to be this guy who's like, nah. But making the film is just the start of it. Like, if you actually want to make money from the film, it's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
And it really stops getting creative.
Yeah.
It starts to get,
it's like the least fun part.
It's fun going to these festivals and all this stuff, but if you don't have producers and you're producing your own film, there's so much work to be done. And I can't stress this enough, guys. When you're making your film, make sure you have the paperwork, because if you're trying to get all that shit together, and if there's a distributor going, oh, we want your film, where's your chain of title? And all of a sudden you're going, chain of title, and you're going to Google, you're fucking backwards, my friend. You need to figure out at the very beginning everything you need to have proof of ownership of your film in the end. You got to make sure you got everything together. There's just so many legal things that I did not know and that I just didn't give a fuck about, because I was like, oh, I got to make a film.
Yeah.
I got to make a film.
I'm going to have to talk to you off air about this, because I'm producing a friend's film, and we're getting this. We should
together. just have another podcast called The Law of Film. Everything you need to know about fucking how to get the paperwork
and that
in
way
order.
I can reference it.
I mean, I feel like this podcast alone is like 3 different podcasts. So I mean,
it's hard to do one episode and talk about everything.
I like to talk, so anytime you want to,
Me too.
I'm learning a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and if I can pass along knowledge, then that makes me feel good.
Yeah, I mean that's my whole like goal with this is to, help someone else that might be lost, might not understand certain things, or might not fully have the drive, and they're just looking for that one little couple, like those 2 words that are like, yeah, let's go, It's like, and if that's you or the band that I had on last, like whatever it takes for someone to be like, that's it. I think I figured it out, and I'm happy to, that's all I want for, and that's all I want for other people. It's like, so I'm not like doing shit just to make me feel good. I also want to bring up other people too, because
that's what this is all about, man.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we make films.
Mm-hmm.
And why do we make films?
I mean, to entertain.
We make films to connect.
Yeah.
We want people to watch.
Yeah.
We want people to engage. We want people to have a good time. We want them to have fun. We want them to feel something.
Mm-hmm.
It's about connection, and it's about inspiring. And that's what we all should set out to do. It shouldn't be, if your main goal is, oh, I want to be famous, or I want to be this, or I want to be that. I want to be rich. You're in the wrong thing, my friend, because that doesn't happen. It just doesn't. It doesn't happen to most of us. And the people it do happen to are the people who are doing it for those reasons.
Right.
They want to inspire. They want to share something. They want to entertain.
The most successful people come from is because they're not coming from ego. They just want to make what they feel like they have the most passion about.
Every director has an ego.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But it's just checking the ego, like we said. Like everybody has ego. I mean, ego is just part of human nature, but it's about checking that and just being humble and just realizing, like, hey, and they say it, we'll see in 50 years if you still got that juice.
Right.
Did you get to that point? It's like there's guys out here who's 80 years old still chucking. It's like, dude, we're young. Like, you got a long way to go, my friend.
Yeah.
And it's once you realize that it starts to become more clear.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a good place to end it, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we could go on for hours.
We could go on for hours and hours.
One thing I did want to, before we wrap it up, one thing I wanted to ask you is, so you mentioned, so in Rolling Thunder, you mentioned Scorsese and Inarritu. Who are some directors or filmmakers, or even outside of the filmmaking world, who are like some people that inspire you to keep going, keep writing, keep doing your craft?
At first I was like, I would watch a movie every night. I was like, oh, I want to just watch movies and consume everything. And then as I went on, I was like, oh my God, I love Tarantino. Oh my God, I love this guy. Oh my God. It changes so much. It changes so much. But I'll say one thing is Scorsese has just always been the guy for me. It doesn't change. He's at the top.
Yeah.
But this is one thing that you all will learn. Do not try to emulate these people. Don't try to be like, oh, I'm going to be this person. Because then you're just a ripoff.
Right.
Like, honestly, consume everything. And then when you're making a movie, when you're coming to your thing, be inspired, but make sure that you're just coming up with this stuff. Like, all this inspiration is going to come in, but you don't have to watch a movie and be like, I'm going to make that shot. I'm going to make it. And this was something I tried to say with Rolling Thunder, was like, he's specifically copying something that someone else did. And he's aware that he's copying it.
Yeah.
Don't do that, guys. Like, Scorsese is phenomenal. I love just the energy of his films. I love the way he moves the camera. I love the performances that he gets. Just those. I love the camaraderie and the family nature of a lot of the things that he does, and the way he brings those kind of emotions and those just the performances in there. There's just so much. There's something that gets me about just like friendship and family, and just that kind of like bond. And Scorsese really nails that.
Yeah,
he nails that. Completely nails that. And there's a lot of people that inspire me. I'm a big Seijun Suzuki fan.
Yeah, I just saw you posted on your story.
I just found out that Arrow they have box sets of Seijun Suzuki. I didn't know this. They have all of his early films. I was blown away. I was like, these are actually on Blu-ray. Like, we live in a time right now where films from the 50s that were made in Japan are on Blu-ray. Yeah. Like, guys, we are in a treasure trove of time. You would not be able to find those films anywhere. And now people are digging them up and releasing them on Blu-ray.
Yeah. I found a bunch of Kurosawa movies that are, and I'm like, oh, yes.
Oh, my God. Kurosawa. You can get lost in Kurosawa. Oh. He is phenomenal. And he has so many great films.
I recently started from his first, and I'm just going through the ones I haven't seen. Yeah. Just because I love, he's one of my favorite.
It's crazy, like, when you really start to explore film and you really start to just break away from American cinema and you start to see, like, all these different countries that make films,
so
and they're so different. They just have so much. It's really inspiring. Yeah. Like, I think a lot of people are stuck in American cinema, and honestly, break out, read some subtitles.
It's just a little reading,
right? Find yourself.
Yeah.
But I definitely know that for me, I'm a big crime film fan. I'm a big gangster film, crime film fan. I've always been. And everybody has their own tastes. That's definitely mine. Yeah. When I see that stuff, awesome. I just go, I want to watch that movie. You know, that's just what I love. But definitely those. What I really love about gangster films is just that camaraderie and that family aspect of it. It's almost like, they're like brothers, man. You know, even though they're fucking nutty, they're crazy,
they're killing people.
And that's another reason why. I mean, I could go on and on about films. I'm trying to figure out a way to close this.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm even inspired by like a piece of art that I've seen.
Right.
And I'm like, how do I turn that image into a story?
And that's another thing. Like, after a while, if you watch too many movies or whatever it is, you know, sometimes you just need to look at something different, like a graphic novel or like these things will inspire you.
Yeah, I've been reading. This 2 years ago, I started reading a book a month. Because I was like, I'm not reading enough, and so there's like so many different, like, from fiction to nonfiction, and I've gotten so many different ideas that I wouldn't probably have never gotten if I was just watching TV or movies. And I've always been a comic book graphic novel reader, and so I've like dove into like the indie ones, and it's just like crazy. Like, why isn't this a movie? And so it's like the more you open yourself to other mediums and genres and just different things, it's like those are where you can start seeing different like possibilities and avenues to be creative.
Oh yeah. And look at the one guy who's at the top, probably even above Scorsese, is Stanley Kubrick. Where does he get his ideas from? He reads. He reads a shit ton. He goes and he's a fine art enthusiast. He listens to classical music. I mean, like, you have to get yourself out of like, oh, I watch Netflix and I like, honestly. Yeah. That's almost, I don't want to say it, but it's kind of just like mushes your brain after a while. Like binge watching and just consuming. It's just too much, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I have, if you look at my Prime watch list, my Netflix list, my HBO list, like, there are so many movies and TV shows that I want to watch. I'm slowly like not having an interest anymore in watching. Like, I've seen every season of The Walking Dead except for the most current, and same with American Horror Story. I'm just like, I really want to watch them. I just have no interest, and I'm slowly like, same thing with movies. Good. You know, it's like, I love movies. I'll always go see a movie, but it's like I haven't had the need, or like I don't feel like there's a necessity to like sit down and just watch a show for the sake of watching a show anymore.
And that's I think you're in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of that area where you start finding yourself as an artist, is when you start to just say, you know what, I'm sick of watching other people's movies. I want to watch my movies.
Right.
I want to see what I would do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times, like when you're watching a movie, you're basically just turning it off, right? You're watching a piece of art. It's called time wasting.
Right. Unless you say I'm watching it for research.
Yeah, let's do the quotes here. Unless you're making video essays, you are not watching those for research, guys.
I can't tell you how many things I've watched and said, "Oh, it's because I'm expanding my palette of film."
Yeah, right. I mean,
come on, you're wasting 3 hours.
You're wasting 3 hours. I mean, and like you said with the watch list.
Yeah.
Like I had so much shit on my watch lists, and at the end of the day, I'll look at them and I'll be like, ugh. And you know what I'll do? I'll fucking pop in Fargo, or I'll pop in in something I've seen a million times.
Yeah.
I'll pop in The Big Lebowski. I'll pop in fucking Goodfellas.
Movie,
I'll pop in like I will pop in movies that I love.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like, why do I need to waste 3 hours watching something new that maybe it's good, but do I want to take that chance?
Yeah.
When I want to waste 3 hours watching something I love and I know I love.
I mean, yeah, I have in my list, various lists, movies that look amazing, but I'll scroll through. I'm like, what do I want to watch tonight? Fuck it, and I watch like a show that I'll just pop out the disc set. I'm like, I've seen this show 16 times, but let's go ahead because the samurai scenes are amazing. Yes, man. I mean,
So much great shit out there.
There is, but sometimes we can't watch it all.
No, you can't watch it all. Just yeah.
I mean, there's not enough time in the day to watch everything anyway. So,
but at the same time, you gotta be. If that time you could be spending writing your script, you could be spending. I mean, you need to work on this craft, and the only way to do that is by spending your time on there and not spending your time watching every fucking thing Netflix comes out with.
Especially if this is what you want to do.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if you know who Gary Vee is at all. He does a lot of like pep talk. I can't find the right words, but it's like basically like you can do better for yourself, and if you just fucking dedicate your time, and you can strive to be the best, sort of stuff. And one thing he says is the quickest way to not be the owner of a Porsche is to buy a Porsche. So it's like, and I'm like, oh, I fucking get it. The quickest way to not make a movie is to waste my time watching movie after movie after movie after movie. And like, although you get ideas, it's like, well, I just wasted 4 hours driving to the theater.
Dude, you're not getting like.
And sometimes
you don't want to get ideas from other movies.
Yeah.
That's how we get the same fucking movies over and over and over again. You find your inspiration elsewhere.
Yeah.
You watch movies when you literally have time to waste.
Yeah.
That's what a movie is. It's entertainment. It's turning your head off. But at the end of the day, you got to make money and you got to get out there, and the studios want to see work. They want to see, oh, look at all these screenplays he's written. Look at these movies he's made. He's hustling. Yeah. You're not going to be hustling watching everything Netflix comes out with. Like, that is wasted time.
Yeah.
Like, get yourself out there and start working. Like, this is a craft you need to start working on.
Yeah. And this is something that I've been struggling with for the last couple months. And now I'm finally like, okay, well, what are we doing? I just came up on my first year being here. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we worked on some stuff. I'm using the royal we. We worked on some stuff, and, it was cool. But really, what have I done? I'm like, I've started writing 3 different scripts. I'm like, okay, well, where's one of these finished? They're not, because I've movies going out, doing blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, what's this next year going to be? Are we going to keep going?
I struggle with this same thing. It's a lot of us artists we have ADD. Ideas go all over the place, but you have to be able to schedule yourself and say, I am going to spend this much time working on this. Because if you're sitting there and you're going, oh my God, I want to work on this and I want to work on this and I want to work on this. You're not getting anything done.
Yeah.
You're not getting anything done.
I have like 6 projects half edited, and I'm just
delegate.
It's not good. Yeah.
You got to go one project at a time, finish it, move on. Finish it, move on.
Yeah.
And don't be a perfectionist, guys. Do not be
no such thing.
Mr. Perfectionist.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I mean, well, you know why Frontera took so long? Because I wanted it to fucking be, Goodfellas or whatever it is. Like, it's just you're not going to have a masterpiece every time, guys. Just churn them out, work, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man.
Really thanks for having me, man. Yeah, I mean, this is great.
Thanks. Yeah, the idea is to bring people on, like, of all different forms of, like, industry, like last week we had some musicians on, and the whole idea is to, like, get people to be inspired by all various things to, whether it's acting, directing.
Well, that's what we all need. That's what there's a shortage of, is inspiration.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like everyone needs some inspiration, and but like, I really think that, like, younger kids now, especially, there's not enough of it. It's just like, I don't know. I just feel like there's something.
Inspiration is fleeting.
Yeah.
It is something that comes, it goes, and it burns. It crashes and burns. And you never know what is going to inspire you. But it's just, it doesn't last long when you're, because then you actually got to start working, and it starts to burn you out. But yeah, that inspiration should fuel you to at least get things moving and going. And once you have something going and you got something to be proud of, that inspires you to make the next one, right?
Of course. I mean, and that's for anything. Could be writing, drawing, whatever floats your boat.
Most definitely.
But I just, my whole belief about, like, doing something like this is to show people that you can do it. If that's what you want to do, then just do it. And if these words that you hear me say, you say, and whoever comes on and it just clicks, and they finally get it, they're like, oh, that's what I have to do. And then that's the whole.
It's so cliche, but it's just like, if you truly want to do something, you have to put everything you got into it. Especially in this industry. It's gonna take it all.
100%.
If you're focused over here, you're gonna lose it in those other. What do you really want to do?
Yeah.
Narrow that down and just go after it with reckless abandon, and that's just, it's the only way to kind of get anywhere in this business.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is you just have to put all your effort. You can't go half in.
No,
you can't. Otherwise, I always was told, like, you can't have a plan B if for stuff like this, because once when you go out for it and you're like, oh well, if it doesn't work out, I can always go and do that. I came out here to LA when, like, straight out of college, saying this is what I'm doing, and I mean, there's plenty of things I can go back and do, but this is all I'm in for. So if I have to work a job to make money to survive, then fine. But and
this is the thing, when
my vision is laser focused.
Right. And when you say this about the plan B, and this is very true, and people come out here and they say they always have the plan B is always sprinkled in the back of their minds, right? And they got their family, they got these people saying, oh, well, you're not, and there's always that thing with the family and with people who don't understand this business. It's always like, okay, when are you going to get a real job? Right. Yeah. There's always when are you going to get a real career conversation? And those kind of start getting you thinking. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is you're going to fall on your face. Yeah. And you're going to fall on your face time and time again. And it's very tough to pick yourself back up. Yeah. I mean, I've had it handed to me, man. I mean, like, I honestly thought, coming out of college, being a cocky kid, you think, okay, I know everything now. I've watched movies. I know how to make films. I'm going to go make one, and people are going to notice me, right? The biggest mistake that people think is that people are going to recognize talent.
Right.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah, I listened. Sorry to cut you off. I was watching Comedians in Cars getting coffee. Have you ever watched?
I love Comedians in Cars getting coffee. I love that show.
In the latest season, though, it was like the second interview Jerry had with Alec Baldwin. He says, no one's gonna come knocking on your door saying, "Hi, I'm from the talent agency where we find people that have extraordinary talent." No one's gonna come knocking on your door that says, you have talent, let's get it out there. You could have zero talent and you can be someone. So
and we've seen it time and time again.
You just go not to knock Netflix, but just go on Netflix.
You better be careful.
I know.
You might have to cut that out if you want a job in your future.
I'm going to edit that out. I'm going to clap here.
Don't edit that out. That's great. I like that.
No. Sorry, Netflix. I love you.
Yeah, but no, you're hitting it right on the head there. I mean, even if you're great, even if you make good films, even if you got all the talent in the world, no one cares.
Yeah.
No one cares. And the people who have the power to get you these big time gigs and this and that, they couldn't recognize talent if it slapped them right in the fucking face.
Yeah.
And let's just be honest here. They don't know what they're looking for. They don't know what is what.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's all dollars and cents.
It's all dollars and cents. If they, eventually, if you do this enough, and one of these people will go, "I see money."
Yeah.
And that's your golden ticket right there, your golden shower, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, we're gonna be making Marvel movies in 2 years.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Oh man. But yeah, man. I mean, I can't stress this enough, guys. Don't let anything shake your confidence, man. Yeah. You are going to fail. People are going to tell you are not good enough. People are going to say, get a real job. And those people don't know shit. Yeah. Okay? Those people don't know a goddamn thing. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep moving.
I agree. I always think those people are the people that had dreams and they're like, well, it didn't work out for me, so it's 100% not going to work out for you. So let me just help you out and say, don't go for it.
Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. You know it.
Yeah, it's, I mean, look, I'm very grateful for having the family that I had because they've been very supportive of my entire journey. My parents grew up strict. My dad, he was forced to go to school for business by his dad. And I know he didn't want that for his kids because he knew how shitty it was for him. And my mom went to school for art too, so she was always supportive, although the Jewish mother in her would have loved for me to be a doctor. But
of course, they all do.
Yeah, man. I couldn't pass math, so that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So, I've had those people in life where they're like, you sure you really want to get into this? I mean, I don't know if you knew, but I originally went to school for illustration.
Yeah, I know that.
So I wanted to do comic books. I wanted to get into animation. I essentially wanted to be Seth MacFarlane, like come up with my own shows, animate my shows, do the voices. And then I was watching Django, and I fell in love with it. And I want to make these. This was in college. This was my second year of college. Mm-hmm. I've made like dingy short films. I literally pointed the computer. I didn't have a camera. Pointed my MacBook out, and that's how we filmed. Used Mac Cut or whatever it was back then.
Beautiful.
So it's like, beautiful. I've had people throughout my entire life saying, "You sure you want to be an artist? Because there's no money in it. It's not a real job." So I've dealt with it. I know what it's like.
And guys, it's not a real job for a long time.
Yeah.
You have to make it a job. And there's many different ways to do that. Me in particular, I just started learning how to do everything. Mm-hmm. I just started editing. I picked up a camera. As soon as I got out of film school, I bought a 5D Mark III. And I started saying, you know what? Even if this isn't even if this isn't making feature films or making, narrative films, it's still, you're picking up a camera, you're picking up the editing software, and you're learning how to tell a story. Like, it doesn't matter if it's weddings or fucking your cousin's bar mitzvah, fucking, whatever it is, pick up a camera, go shoot it. And if it pays you, that's the way to go. Yeah. Just get paid to do this stuff. Of course, once you start getting paid for editing or film or shooting weddings, whatever it is, you're gonna start getting tempted to, oh my gosh, this is actually making money. But always, because that's what we're saying about the laser focus. It's getting you better at your craft, and you're getting paid. So it's a double up. You know what I'm saying? Just go and do it. Yeah. And that's kind of what I always say. It's like, just pick it up and do it. There's plenty of freelance work out here. It's competitive, but if you grind enough, you can go out and get it.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I would add to that is always make sure that the things that you're doing, like from project to project, is that there's a new element, something that you've never done before. Otherwise, you're just going to stay stagnant.
Yep.
You'll never learn. That's why every project I do, whether it's something I've come up with or someone else has asked me to help them with, I always make sure that it's something I've never done before. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it? Maybe a few bucks, or maybe just to help a friend out. But if I'm not learning anything new about myself, how I work, how everyone, it's not going to progress.
But this is the thing. Every single project you do, you're going to learn something. And if you don't, if you don't, then, and I don't know, your brain's not picking up, but you're going to learn something in every project you do, because every project is different because you're working with different people. But yeah, every single project you do, no matter what it is, you're going to learn something. There's going to be some problem that comes up. There's going to be something you have to solve. And as a director, as a filmmaker, basically your job is to
problem solve.
You're basically a creative problem solver.
Yeah.
And those are things that you can only learn by doing. Yeah. Because you're going to run into these problems, and that's going to just get you better at problem solving in the moment. 100%. And as a director, you got to be confident in everything you say. Yeah. So, and confidence comes with just experience and just working and just keep moving.
I've definitely learned that. I shot a little short scene for my friend last weekend, and it was a pretty big breakthrough moment for me as a director, because first, it was someone else's script. I've never shot someone else's script, because I'm sure you know that when people write scripts, they're like, no, it's my precious thing, and I'm going to shoot it myself. So no one's ever like given me the chance to shoot. I've always put it out there like, hey, if you want me to shoot one of your stuff, I'm like, maybe. So this one, I was like, yeah, let's do it. I would like to know what it's like to do someone else's, take their material, kind of make it my own, and in a way. So that was the first thing. And then second thing was I had to be the DP, which I normally don't do anymore, because I've been able to meet a bunch of people here that are trying to be DPs. So I always contact someone to help me out. And then
that's smart, you know, because I tell you one thing that really tripped me up starting out was I felt like asking people for help was a bad thing. Yeah. Like I felt, okay, if I don't have money to pay this person, I should not be bringing them out, because when I got out of college, I did internships and I felt like I was being used. And there are a lot of people who are out there to use you. But you know what? There are also a lot of people out there who want to be around filmmakers and just get on set and learn. There are a lot of people and if you're a genuine guy and you're going out and saying, come on, guys, let's go shoot. I'm looking for a DP. Oh, you want to be a DP? Let's go shoot. I mean, it should be that way. Like, don't feel guilty about having somebody come out for, for a lunch. Yeah. And like, don't feel guilty, because they're coming out and they're learning and they're getting better. And there are people out there who willingly want to do that. Right. Yeah. If you put a post on Craigslist, you're going to get a lot of people saying, fuck off. You don't want to pay us. What? You stupid piece of shit. I mean, fuck those people. Like, those guys should not be on Craigslist looking at ads for, I don't have any money, cinematographers. Like, they should not be there. So don't worry about it. Like, don't think that you're doing anybody dirty. And I think that was something when I started out that I wished I would have just went to the colleges and got maybe some kids who wanted to come out and learn, come to set. Just honestly, it's so invaluable to be behind the camera and just be like, hey, can you, I need you to move this. It could be the smallest little thing, but as long as you have more hands on set, and these are people who just want to learn, are coming out to learn, that helps you so damn much.
Yeah. Post on, that's what I would do. I would post on college, like, film pages and say, like, does anyone want to help out? And most of the time, 90% of the time, you'll get a couple people to say, yeah, I'll do it, because they just want to learn.
Yep.
And that's all it is. Like, the most, if you can't afford to pay them, just buy them some food.
Exactly. Say, hey, I'm going to get you some food, and it's not greasy pizza.
Yeah.
Don't buy people greasy pizza, please.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
I've been on too many college sets.
I've been on too many sets where they got me disgusting greasy pizza.
It's not even good pizza.
No.
So this one I had to do it myself. I had to light everything myself. I don't know how to light at all. So every time I do it, I'm not sure if it looks good. I don't really know how to operate a camera very well. I'm not like that great with adjusting settings and ISO and f-stop and all that stuff. Although I'm learning, just so I have the knowledge. But it's overall, it was like a big, like, technical learning experience. And then I had also on the other side, the writer was on set. So I was brought on to be the director, but now the writer's there also giving his direction. So I'm like, okay, shit, how do I get around? How do I make it so that I'm the one giving direction, because that's my job. And also I'm very, my personality is like, how do I describe it? It's like one of those, like, things where it's like, okay, I'll let it happen for a little bit, and then if it bugs me, I'll keep letting it happen. Mm-hmm. And then Justin, who you met, he was there with me. He came to help. He was running sound for me, so
nice.
He's never done that. So, I pulled him aside and said, hey, what do I do? Like, how do I get, how do I gain control of this? And he's like, well, just, kind of just let it go. And, just make sure Vin knows. I just put Vin on blast.
You cut that out.
Yeah. He was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. But, make sure he knows that you're the one giving him the direction, because he was the lead in this short. And so I'm like, okay. The writer stepped aside for a bit, and then I kept directing before because it was I was directing the rehearsals pretty much before we started getting rolling. And then the writer came back in and started giving more direction. Like, you're supposed to be doing this at this part. And I'm like, oh, well, I disagree. I think he should be doing this now. And he goes, oh, okay. So he started to back off. And then another moment came where he just kind of took over again. So I'm like, oh, fuck. And I could have blown up on the whole thing, like on set, but that's really not my personality. So I chose not to. I pulled the lead aside, who was the one who asked me to come do this. I said, hey, man, so is he going to be directing you this thing, or am I? Because you asked me to come be the director, but he's stepping all over my toes. I'm like, it's fine if you want him to direct you, and if you want us to be co-directors, or you want him to be the director, I need to know now. I'll stay and film it, whatever you need, but I need to know what you need me here for, because you asked me to be the director. He goes, no, you're the director. I'm like, okay, because right now he's doing all the directing, and
right.
So and I'm like, you're getting confused.
So let me interject.
Yeah, please.
You have just learned a lot.
Yeah.
In this short film. I mean, the number one thing you have to deal with is managing egos and personalities as a director. And you have to pick up on that pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
And you gotta let it, you gotta start the day off letting them know that you are in control.
Yeah.
And the moment that you relinquish control to the writer, whoever it is, the moment you do that, that gets in their head that, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. The second that they think that you don't know what you're doing is when they overtake your set.
Right.
You have to, and I know your personality and your personality is great, but you gotta bring out the floor general inside you. You gotta bring out that kind of forcefulness at times, and you can't. It's like anything else, like managing whatever it is.
Yeah.
The second you don't, there's a problem with micromanaging, but you got to find that middle ground where they're not going to take it some other way.
Right.
You're the director of this piece, which means you have a vision. Mm-hmm. But the second that people don't think you have a vision, they're going to start thinking they have different visions. That's when you don't have a cohesive piece.
Right.
That's when everybody's doing their own thing. This person's doing this person's doing that, and it has no direction.
Yeah.
And we've seen this time and time again in movies, bad movies. Like, it just is all over the place. And the second you get in there, you have to know exactly what you want. Mm-hmm. And the people need to see that you know what you're doing. And that's immediately what you have to get into their heads. And when it comes to a writer, for instance, if you're directing another writer's piece of work, which on Frontera, me and my lead wrote the script. Yeah. So, there was moments where I had that kind of issue with the writing kind of thing. But you got to tell them, like, this is my job. This is what I'm doing. And you gotta tell them to back off. On a lot of like major sets, sometimes, they want the writer there at times. Yeah. Because you also don't want people to feel like they don't have any input. Right. So there's a fine line. I mean, and it's hard to gauge because everybody's different. And the personality management is key, because this person might get really upset if you say something, but if you say the same thing to another person, they might be like, oh yeah, this guy knows, they might, everybody's different. And it takes kind of learning how people are on set and feeling them out. And then kind of, it's almost, I don't want to say it's manipulation, but it kind of is. Yeah.
It's, well, I know what you're saying. It's like trying to figure out how to say it to a certain person. Like, everyone's different. Like you said, everyone's different. Like, when you're directing actors, you say this to someone and then you say that to the same actor because they're doing the same scene. It's like, well, that one might get it, but this person has no idea what you're talking about because it doesn't connect in their brain the way that it would with actor A. Yep. So it's not, I know what you mean by manipulation, but I think it's more of like how to make it click. Yep. So to speak. Yeah. And manipulation is just because I can't find a word. Yeah. I know manipulation is kind of got a negative connotation, but that's, I mean, you're getting somebody to act or be something you need in order to make this film. Yeah. Everybody's a piece to your puzzle, right. And you are the only person who sees the puzzle completed. You're the only person who at the end of the day knows what that puzzle looks like. Mm-hmm. Nobody else does. They're just seeing little pieces. Yeah. They're the, when you have a 5,000 piece puzzle, they're just little pieces. Right. And they don't see what you have the box, right? Yeah. You have the box. You're seeing the image. No one else does. And they have to know that you have the box. And you have to kind of put those pieces together. Or at least make it seem like you have all the pieces together. Exactly. Yeah. No, and that's the damn truth. I mean, I heard Steven Spielberg, I listen to a lot of his stuff. A lot of times he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Yeah. And he says that. He'll say, I come to set and I don't know what I'm doing sometimes. But you know what? I pretend like I do. Yeah. And I walk in the room and everybody goes, oh my God, Steven Spielberg knows what he's doing. And sometimes I'm anxious and nervous inside saying, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with this scene. And I figure it out. And that's what we all learn to do. We all strive to be what Steven Spielberg is, which is you walk in to a scene, you have no idea but you figure it out. Yeah. And that's kind of the whatchamacall. I mean, that's where we're all trying to get to, is the ability to just walk in and just kind of figure it out. But
I mean, everybody has their different process. I mean, that's not always good for everybody. But
right. I mean, so when I shot my Western, we set out to shoot a completely different script, and then the lead dropped out, and then I had to rewrite the whole thing, and now it's like, okay, I have all this, but like I'm not prepared. So it's like every day was like, how do we get every scene, every minute was like, okay, how do we get through this? How do we move on to the next piece? Whereas we spent a month, 2 months, everything was laid out. We had location scouted every detail, or we planned every shot, storyboarded everything, so that when we got to set, we knew how everything was gonna go. It's like, okay, fuck, we gotta throw all that out the window, and I have to figure this out every day. Every 3 seconds, I have to figure out what to do next.
Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah.
That's a good first film right there.
Yeah, it was. You know, I joke a lot to some of my friends. I was just talking to one of my friends the other day he's making a feature film, or he's been making a feature film for the last 6 years, and it's turned into 3 because they've been shooting so long, and he's been rewriting and stuff. So now he's decided to keep shooting. You got like another year or so, and they're just going to turn it into 3 movies. So I was catching up with him and just I was telling him what happened on my film. And I was saying like, yeah, it was super shitty, but it was like the biggest learning experience I could have ever asked for. It was I think it was the best decision, like in retrospect, that I could have made. Like, okay, I did a period piece. I had to raise a lot of money on my own. I wanted, live firing blank firing guns. You know, I wanted horses, you know? So it's like, okay, I threw myself into the biggest, like, fucking, you know, machine that I could have gotten into as my first thing.
You put yourself in a 20-foot hole in the rain and said, no okay, like you all that stuff on your first film is just nutty. Yeah. I mean, to think live firing rounds, all that stuff, like, I don't think you realize as a young filmmaker how much goes into that. Yeah. How many things you need to put in place to have that actually happen.
I mean, we had a guy, I mean, I hired a guy to be on set that would handle all of that stuff. He had like a family emergency, so he gave me his contact for another guy. And this guy, he had all the guns, all the rifles, all the holsters. He made his own ammo, so he had like just stockpiles of stuff ready to like go, because he worked for this company that did like Western, like medieval, like you know, like medieval times type, or like the Renaissance fair, but for cowboys. And so they would do like shootouts in this old Western town, and people could come and walk around. And yeah, so essentially like Renaissance fair for cowboys. So he did that, and so he had all this stuff stockpiled, and he's like, yeah, I can do it. And he turned out to be the reason why my lead left.
Yeah.
So
whew.
Yeah, so like, and we made it. I think we made it a great film, but at the end of the day, it was my best. If I could have not learned anything in school, I learned everything on those 9 days.
And what's crazy about your experience is that is kind of what everybody has to go through on their first film.
Yeah.
Everybody has to go through these types of things. Well, cool, brother. I mean, I think this was good.
Yeah.
It was good conversations.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I anytime, man. I love talking to you, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a good experience.
It
Thanks for having me.
It was great. I've been negging you to come on for a while now.
Yeah,
so
no, I wanted to. This is great. Yeah, man. Let's definitely, dude. Let's just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, I forget what it was. You had like posted something of that like classic, Lucas, Spielberg, Scorsese photo. I'm like, I need a group like that. So,
yeah, no, I'm serious.
Like we were saying, like, if you're not the least experienced person in the group, then like you're in the wrong group.
Guys, those guys were all friends. They were friends before they were big.
Yeah.
That's how you those are the people you need to be hanging out with. you know?
Yeah. So I'm like happy. I'm really grateful that like through Jess that I was able to meet you and then various other people too. So it's awesome. Like network is basically what I'm trying to get at.
Yep. Network your ass off. Find those people you gel with and just keep moving.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
It's really the only way to do it.
It's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Any place you want the listeners to check you out or check out anything?
Yeah, I mean, we got Frontera out right now. You can come and check me out at just Jake in it on Instagram. You can find links to all that stuff in my bio.
And I'll have all the links below too.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for listening. I truly appreciate that. And you can find me, as always, at Harrison Burger on Instagram and Harrison C. Burger on Twitter. Thank you very much, Jake. Thank you so much. And I loved the movies, by the way, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
Thank you, brother.
And I can't wait to see where Frontera and Rolling Thunder both go. I'm really excited for you. Thank you guys for joining us. I really love you, and we will see you next time. Cut.